everyone. Welcome back. Today, I am talking with Dr. Judy Wright. Judy is a family medicine physician, a mother of two, a speaker, a writer, an educator, and a co-host of the Queens on Call podcast. She is a fierce supporter of all things surrounding health advocacy and self-care. I am so thrilled that she is here with me today, and I'm so excited to talk with her. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Alice. How are you? Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for being here. I just love talking about joy, and I'm so excited to hear what your definition of joy is. How do you define it? Do you think it's a thought, a feeling, an action, all three?
I think it's a feeling. I don't like some people feel like you should just have joy, you should just be happy. And I think that while that's wonderful, I think it can be fleeting. So it's something you gotta work for, like you have to actively set your mind to have joy. And it's not easy. It's not going to be every day, and that's okay. Because if you don't have non-joyous days, I guess is the way to put it, you can't appreciate big joy.
Yes.
There's no way you'll be able to appreciate it. You actually will start to take it for granted. So, but it's something you kind of work at, and you change, you look at your thought processes on things and see how you're looking, because we can't control everything. So see how you're looking at things and see if there's a different way to look at it, a different perspective to look at it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because how could you, the contrast is really important. How could you know something like joy if you don't have something like non-joy to compare it to?
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's really
absolutely
good.
So we even though we all want to be happy, we would love to be happy all the time, but you kind of have to be able to truly appreciate it, yet you have to roll with those not so great days too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you have the not so great days, you really appreciate having the great days. Not only do you recognize it, but you really appreciate it.
You really appreciate it. You really, really appreciate it. Yeah.
That's true. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So what brings you joy? When do you feel the most joy?
When I'm around people that I care about, but people that also can experience joy, because you could care about people who are, sometimes, like kind of downers. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
I probably used to be one of those people way back when, where it's just, and this is another like toxic kind of trait. Like you almost feel like when there is joy, you get a little scared because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Totally toxic trait, right? Because then you can never really experience joy. You're too busy being anxious that something big bad is about to happen. But when I'm around other people that I care about and that are positive, it's why I like to be around my children, because they don't truly know the ins and outs and the craziness of life yet. So you get to look through their eyes a little bit. And my husband is one of those people who lets water just roll off his back, right? I don't let water roll off my back as easily, but I think that's a good thing. We balance each other out. But sometimes, when he's just like, sometimes it annoys me, but sometimes I really have to sit down and say, you know what? It really may not be that big of a deal.
Right.
It's you may be making a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be. You have to pick your battles, and so again, it's really trying to figure out, what do we have to go in hard on, and what is just like, okay, just let that go. All right.
Yeah.
Because it's stealing some of your happiness, your thunder. Just let that go. I'll give you an example is that we just came back from vacation, like literally just came back from vacation. We got
Okay.
back on Saturday and had a blast there. But some of what threatened to steal my joy was I was hearing what was happening back here with the hurricane and
Mm-hmm.
the storms. And, I live on the Northeast. So we got hit by what
Mm.
was Hurricane Ida, became Tropical Storm Ida.
Okay.
And usually tropical storms for us, yeah, they'll be windy and whatever, but whew, we got hit, like
Wow.
flooding. And here
Wow.
I am, we're not in the country. And I'm like, what's happening to our house? Like,
Right.
and it's
Right.
in your head. And
Yes.
my husband said, there's nothing we can do about that.
Right.
There's literally, don't let it ruin the rest of the trip. There's nothing we could do about it until we get back,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to say he's right. And when I saw some of the pictures, I said there may have been nothing we could do about it, even if we were there. So,
Right.
so,
Exactly. Yeah.
so it's just like
That's right.
you got to roll with it and just
Mm-hmm.
try to you know try to have that joy because you can't
Yep.
get that back.
Right.
You can't get that time back.
Right.
So
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's so awesome that you have a partner who is so like a good sounding board that just keeps you balanced, and just kind of helps you relax. And yeah, that's awesome. What a gift.
thank you.
Gives you that perspective.
Yeah. I needed it because I was like, ah!
I
I
know,
needed
right? Yeah, for sure. Oh gosh, that's tough. Yeah. Okay, well, my next question to you is actually if you would tell us a story about a fun time that you had with your family or while you're on vacation, or maybe this time when you were gone.
Um, so we had a great time. Um, we had a great time when we were gone. We actually, my husband and I, our background, our heritage is Jamaican, and
Mhm,
so to be able to take our children to Jamaica and just
mhm.
introduce them to it was so nice. It was so peaceful, even
Yeah.
down to the fact that they had their version of a lockdown, which is
Mm,
there was 3 days that you couldn't go out at all
mm.
unless it was absolutely essential.
Oh,
Um, and you could look at that like, oh, that's horrible. You're there, you want to do stuff, but you know what? We chose to stay at a villa. The villa had amenities, and we were good. And sometimes it's just good to relax. Like sometimes
yes.
you feel like you want to run and see all these different things, and sometimes you just need to
Yes.
chill.
Mm-hmm.
If all you do is sit on the couch,
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Yes,
You
exactly.
just and so we had a lot of laughter, a lot of peaceful time. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say I love to vacation, and so these last couple of years were like, oh, no vacation. But my husband and I, before we ever had children, went to Tuscany, and
Mm-hmm.
I literally went to Tuscany because you know that movie Under the Tuscan Sun?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I had not seen the movie. What I had seen was the commercial and
Ah,
immediately decided based on the commercial alone that I needed to see that up close and personal. and so,
nice. That
and
was a
so
good advertisement.
yes. So I've been saying to my husband for years, I want to go to Italy, but I
Mhm.
didn't know where we were going to go.
Yeah.
And when I called him one day and I said, we're going to Italy. And he said, yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, okay, so like the airline tickets are bought. He's like, what? and I was like, yeah, you need to get the time off. And I already bought the airline tickets. Where are we staying? I don't know that yet, but we're going this and this time. And
Nice.
we went to Italy. We went to Tuscany and we arrived. And the patio on the back, because you each had your own, it wasn't like in a hotel, it was like in a villa, but it was a large villa. So you
Okay.
had your own patio. And we got there, put our bags in, and I sat at the little cafe table on our patio and just looked out over olive groves. And I said, I don't need to do anything else.
Oh,
This
nice.
is the scene that I came here to see. Okay.
Ah,
I don't need to do anything else. Now, the trip was fabulous. I loved it. But honestly, my joy started the minute I sat down and looked out over those olive groves. And every time I think about it to this day, that was like 2009.
Okay.
To this day, every time I think
Wow.
about it, with a smile on my face. Every time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful. I
Yeah.
love those.
Never mind that it was also, we were child free at the time. So
Okay.
that's a whole different, love my children, but that's a whole different kind of vacation.
Right, right. The light and carefree days. Oh, wow. That's great. Oh, that's awesome. So, how about a time in your life that brought you so much pleasure that you wish you could repeat it?
So at the time, I don't think I realized it. And it may sound cliche to some, but I look back at my college days extremely fondly, right? And I wasn't a huge partier. I wasn't that, but I think it's that time in your life where you get to feel like you're an adult.
Yes.
It's not actually being one, right?
Yes.
You think you're one.
Yes.
But you don't have, your parents still have all these responsibilities.
Yes.
And I remember laughing a lot, sitting down with my college roommates, my suite mates, and we would just laugh and laugh. Even when we were studying for finals, we'd be so giddy, we would be laughing uncontrollably, like we didn't even know what we were laughing about.
Really?
Sleep, lack of this. So, I'm still friends with my very first college roommate. We laugh about that stuff to this day. Like we just, that was a fun time. It was a transitional time because you really are trying to learn about being responsible. No one's there to wake you up. No one's there to do this. So you're learning about being responsible. You're taking on some responsibility, but it's the first time you get to wake up around your friends all the time.
Right.
With your friends, go out with your friends, do crazy stuff. Like, pack 7 of you in a car because it was icy that day and you thought that was going to give you traction so that you could go to the wing place and sit there. like just things that you thought you were smart, but you really weren't. Like, what were we thinking?
Right.
That I get a lot of I had a lot of fun when I went to college. Going away to college and so anytime people are like, I don't know if I want my child to go away to college, I was like, man, don't take that away from them. If they want to go away, if they do, don't take that away from them.
Yeah, that's an experience. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
You're on your own, you're doing your own thing, you're learning how to be responsible. Those are,
But you're not yet.
Not yet, right?
You don't have the real responsibilities of an adult yet.
Right. You still have the backup of your parents to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Oh, well, how about a story about a time when you were feeling down and then something happened that lifted you up?
I think so. One of the things, like recently for me, is I don't know what lifted me up actually. I think it really was my children. So I was diagnosed with cancer in 2019. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was shocking.
Yeah. Wow.
For me. And I think I kind of just put it to the back of my mind because one of the things was I was out here trying to make sure that other people were okay. Um, and I had the surgery January of 2020. So this is before the whole thing with the we are now in a pandemic started, right? So
All right.
um I had it in 2020. I had a double mastectomy, and I was pretty much taking it in stride. But when you get to sit down and you're recovering and you get to sit to yourself for a while,
Mhm.
you get to think about things. And while some people say, well, you have to do it for yourself, I think concentrating on my children and making sure that life was still okay for them,
Mhm.
um, was really helpful to
Mhm.
me. But the other thing is, so I come from a family. I have three siblings. I'm the youngest of four. And when I tell you that my parents, my siblings, my friends, cousins, they just showed up and showed out. Like they just
Oh,
I
nice.
was just like, okay, yeah, I know I'm loved. I get that, but you
Mhm.
kind of just say that, and you when you realize how many people were just like, what can we do? Right?
Yes.
What can we make you? You better not lift a finger, which is hard for me.
Okay.
You better, but they taught me how to sit back. And the level of appreciation that I felt, the level of, oh wow, this many people are, you know, co-worker, not I didn't tell too many co-workers, but the few that knew, they were checking in, they were,
Mm.
and it's just like, whoa, right? And maybe that's what would you say? I don't know if that's arrogant or whatever, but for the ego, it's a wonderful thing. Like,
Right, right,
oh, right? Like everybody came out of the woodwork, and you almost couldn't feel like woe is me. So you lose
right.
two breasts. Like, so what? Right? Like, look at this.
Yes.
Look, how could you be so you can't how I couldn't even be down. Like I couldn't be down with that knowledge. Yeah, I realized it's like, this is part of I was a large breasted woman.
Mhm.
I guess some people would say you still are, but I was a large breasted woman. So this was a huge part of my identity.
Okay.
And there were times where I'm like, so now what?
Mhm.
But I just couldn't feel down. Like to
Mhm.
be surrounded by that much love, and I just couldn't. I just I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And it made me see things differently. I
Mhm.
actually credit that this cancer for me changing some of the way that I thought about what was important and what was not important to me.
Wow.
Sometimes
Mhm.
we just do things
Yep.
because it's expected. And it may not even be expected by others. It may be expected by you yourself
Right.
because society says something and that became your expectation.
Right.
Um, and it changed my view
Mhm.
about what's important, what's
Yeah.
not important, and what was stressful that I didn't want to deal with anymore. And
Mhm.
it caused me to make some changes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like they were very positive changes.
Yeah. Yep. They were. I mean, I lost weight in a pandemic. I don't. Yeah. That's a big deal.
Wow, yes. Well, it's something as hard as that to go through. I mean, I love that what you're saying is all of this love showed up. So you were going through a tough time and so much love and support showed up to help you. I mean, that is just beautiful.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. Like I will forever realize, and I guess the best way to say it is not take for granted.
Hmm.
Oh, they love you because of your family. Not the way they showed out.
Hmm.
They just showed out completely,
That's
completely showed.
great. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh man, That's amazing. Wow. Good for you. What
Yeah,
strong woman you
I
are.
feel blessed. I feel truly blessed. I feel truly blessed. And it wasn't just for me. It was everybody came in because they knew, okay, we want her to be taken care of, but we also know how important her family is. So we got to
Mhm.
make sure these kids are taken care of. Her husband has backup, that kind of thing. So it was just, yeah.
Right. Wow. Oh, it's so beautiful. And here you are smiling and laughing today.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good, good. Oh, wow. Yeah, the silver lining in things sometimes when things seem rough.
Absolutely. You know, and that's what I mean. It's like something hard can happen.
Mhm.
It's how you frame it,
Yeah.
right? It's really how you frame it. By no means, I don't take away, definitely, because I've been through, I don't take away feeling like, oh my God, I'm losing a part of me. I don't take anything away from that.
Hmm.
And not everybody is going to have the same background. But one of the things I tell people is don't be afraid to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Hmm.
And if you don't have a built in supportive background,
Hmm.
build one.
Hmm.
Support groups, therapists,
Hmm.
a network of people.
Yes.
There are people around you oftentimes that care about you that you don't even realize
Yes.
about you.
Yes.
And so, but it takes being vulnerable to figure that out a
Hmm.
bit. And so, yeah,
Wow, good
just
stuff.
look at it
Yeah.
differently. Yeah.
And I imagine it might have been, we're talking about change in perspective. What a change in perspective, because you're a physician and now you become the patient.
Yeah. Yeah. That can be difficult.
Yeah, that's challenging.
That could be difficult.
I imagine it makes you a better physician, though, knowing
It,
what it's like.
yeah, it does. And one of the things that I did is I forced myself not to do too much research. I did
Hmm.
a little bit, but I forced myself not to do too much
Hmm.
because I feel so. Let me give you an example. When we start to have children, I told my husband, I don't want to be their pediatrician. So I'm a family physician. I can take care of you. We say from the womb to the tomb,
Right.
right? um, but I told him I don't want to be my son's pediatrician. I want to be his mom,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so I had to force myself to take that approach with myself,
Hmm.
where I did some research, because that's just,
Yeah.
but I tried not to do too much
Hmm.
and let my physicians lead the way. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to ask questions. Oh,
Exactly.
absolutely, because
Right. Right.
self advocacy, health
Yes.
advocacy, right?
Yes. Yes.
But I wanted them to lead the way so I could take the time to be the patient and heal,
There you go. Yes.
you know?
Hmm.
And in trusting in that, I have to say I got some top-notch physicians, and I feel like God led it that way because I'm
Awesome.
telling you, I would be told, okay, there's three people you could pick from, and I practically would be like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, I'm gonna pick this person, and then because when you would read, they all had stellar,
Yes.
you know, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick that person. Pick that person, pick that person. And every time I speak to somebody about one of these doctors, they're like, oh my God, that's that he or she is so good, top notch. And I'm like, wow, okay. You got a great team. Oh my goodness. So, you
Nice.
know,
Yeah.
I think just letting go a bit
Yes. Yes.
really helped
Hmm.
and let the powers that be do
There
what
you
they
go. We are loved and supported by those that we see and those that we don't
don't
see.
see. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that's beautiful. What about a time, if you could recall a time when you erupted into spontaneous laughter, like maybe it just came up and out of you, you just couldn't even control it?
Alice, I do that often.
We're kind of doing it right now, aren't we?
I I I do that often, and I'm a belly laughter, so I will just fall apart, just loud laughing. I'm not a controlled laugher. I used to tell people I don't smile that much.
Uh-huh.
I laugh a whole lot. So, um, it could be something. Sometimes it's something that my children say. And I remember there was a show that said kids say the darndest things. I didn't realize how much of the darndest things that they said till I had them. I'm like, how'd you even come up with that? I
Yes.
would just crack up, you know. Or my mom will say something and I'll start laughing, she'll start laughing. We're on the phone and neither one of us can catch our breath. It's like,
Yeah.
it's, I think you can find the funny in even, I hate to say it, but even some morbid things, you can
Yep.
find the funny in just about anything. And I tell people sometimes you have to laugh to keep you from crying, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
There's so much going on in the world today that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to find a little funny somewhere.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and so it's hard for me to pick a specific thing because I love to watch TV. I can be watching TV. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I was watching the Geico commercial
Mm-hmm.
today, with tag team
Mm-hmm.
with the scoop. There it is.
Right?
And I've been watching this commercial and it makes me chuckle every time. But I think this is the first time I noticed that one of them from tag team, when he says sprinkles, he goes like this. He says sprinkles, and I just fell apart. Like, this just happened like an hour and a half ago. I fell apart. And this is like the first time I realized he flung his hands up in the air, and I could not stop laughing. I was like, oh my God, how are you still laughing at this commercial like this?
Oh, that's great. It's everywhere. I like what you said. Yeah,
It
it's
is.
everywhere.
It is. And
Laughter.
you just got to grab it. It's so cathartic. I do think there's catharsis in crying,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's catharsis in laughing. And
Yes.
there's catharsis in laughing so hard, you start crying.
Yes. 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 Absolutely.
you know, Sometimes, your joy does come out as tears. It may be
Mhm.
relief. It may be, it just, wherever you find it, I say grab it,
Yeah.
and don't be ashamed to grab it
Mm-hmm.
and feel the joy. There's
Yes.
no shame in that.
Yes, and don't feel ashamed to let it take you over because I'm the same way. I'm a belly laughter. I just laugh with my whole body.
Yeah.
I don't have any
Exactly.
worries about not a small laughter. I let it go.
Right. It's like, and by the same token, sometimes people tell jokes and I don't find it funny
Mm-hmm.
and I won't laugh
Right.
because for me, it's like laughter is almost spiritual, right? And I am not going to adulterate that by
Yes.
just laughing. Like, that
Yes.
was, and I've had people say, that was a joke. And I'm like, was it? I'm sorry. Like, I didn't find it funny, you know? Um,
Right.
but
You're very
yeah,
authentic laughter person.
yeah, I don't want to be that person that,
Right.
no, because I laugh from the stomach, so it has to be a real laugh.
I agree totally.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what puts you in the flow state, when things are easy and you feel productive and all's going well?
My goodness. Definitely has to be a mindset. So sometimes if I don't feel like doing something, I can't do it,
Hmm.
right? Um, but certain music,
Hmm.
and it could be different music. Sometimes what puts me in the flow state is you can get on YouTube and turn on like morning coffee jazz, or
Right.
like, or it may be hip hop from the 90s and 2000s, because those were my college and medical school days. So it's just like,
Absolutely.
yeah, you just
Yes. Throwback.
throwback. So music does that for me. But sometimes it's just being in the quiet state. Like sometimes my husband will be like, all right, I'm going to take the kids to see like their grandfather or their grandparents, and that gives me time to be alone in the house by myself and
Hmm.
just focus. And sometimes it's not even actively doing something,
Hmm.
but it may be just sitting down with your thoughts
Hmm.
and listening, um, to where that goes.
Hmm.
Um, and then another thing is I like to listen to things. So I'm I probably in the last year, because that's when I started with the podcast,
Uh-huh.
started listening to podcasts more. I would listen to one or two of them, but started listening to those more. But
Hmm.
the other thing that I started doing too was taking courses.
Mm.
And I find that very motivating. So I actually had taken a course 2018, I think,
Hmm.
um, around real estate.
Hmm.
And prior to that, I'd be like, man, these are just people trying to get my money. I'm not doing that. Right? But taking this course around real estate was so helpful, because what it did was it
Hmm.
motivated me and it put me in that mindset.
Hmm.
So being in that mindset, you start to set goals,
Hmm.
because you may be on a call the next week or two, and you wanted to be able to say, this is what I was able to do. This was the
Yes.
next step that I did to try to move forward. And so, I like doing that to because you have so many things on your plate
Hmm.
that it's easy to fall back. Um, and it's good to have like a group or a course or
Hmm.
something that keeps you on the cutting edge, but
Hmm.
also keeps you motivated to keep moving. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. That's support. That's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. So, how has feeling good helped you be more successful?
Um, so one of the things when I would say when I was recovering, um, I was on medical leave, and what I noticed was that I have high blood pressure,
Mm.
but I wasn't taking my medication,
Okay.
and my blood pressure, which had been difficult to control, suddenly was not.
Ah,
And so
okay.
I was just like, what's happening here? And my mom was like, did you take and I was like, I haven't taken the medication in days, you know?
Hello.
Um, and so from there I made a decision. And I didn't leave the industry I was in. I left a job I was in,
Mm.
which is a weird decision to make when you're on medical leave, right?
Right.
But it's what needed to be done. It was time. And I had known it was time for quite a while.
Hmm.
Um, but when you are in a situation where you have a diagnosis that I was very lucky with my diagnosis. It was caught early enough, but it doesn't make it any less a deadly diagnosis if nothing had been done, if it
Mm.
hadn't been caught. I'll be honest with you that I actually missed a year of getting my mammograms, and it was in that year that it appears that the year before that everything was fine.
Mm.
All right.
Okay.
And so, but it's because every time you do something, you push it back and you push yourself back. Never missed any of my children's appointments, but my stuff
Hmm.
I kept pushing back,
Okay.
you know? Um, and so in that way, I started making some decisions. What's important to you?
Mm-hmm.
What is, what's that, what is your goal? You
Mm-hmm.
know? And one of the things that I had to say, Alice, is I had been saying for about 2 years prior, maybe even more, I feel like there's something more I should be doing. But
Mm.
I'm so inundated, don't have time to figure out what that is, which was frustrating. It's like you don't even, you get up, you go to work, you take care of
Right.
your kids,
Right.
do homework, go to bed, start it all over again.
Right.
Right? And everything is busy, 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 busy. And
Right.
I felt like I didn't have time to figure out what is it that's missing, but I could feel something was missing.
Ah, okay.
And so from that, I made some decisions. And what I did also, when you are, for those that, if it's doctors listening, y'all gonna know what I'm talking about. You dedicate all this time,
Yeah.
and you didn't dedicate it starting from becoming a doctor. You didn't even dedicate it starting from medical school. It
Mm-hmm.
started way before that.
Yes.
Everything you did was geared toward becoming a doctor.
Yes.
Grades
Exactly.
that you were getting, this, that, you spend all this time dedicated to that, and you weren't really thinking about the other stuff.
Right.
And now after doing that for a while, I after doing that for a while, you start to think, but I think there's more that I will. I'm a more well-rounded person than that, and I think there's more that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you just don't have time to figure out what that is. So I'm still figuring that out. But what it did allow me to do was open myself up. The
Okay.
podcast was not my idea.
Mm-hmm.
It was two of my coworkers, previous coworkers,
Uh-huh.
who came to me and said, "We were
Ah.
thinking about starting a podcast, and we were wondering if you would do it with us." And I was just like, "What podcast?" Right? And I said, "I don't know about that, because I'm not the kind of person normally that would just put myself out there like that."
Mm-hmm.
And they explained it to me. And I said, "Let me think about it." And in like a day, I called them back and said, "I'll do it," because it's like I was saying, but you want to figure out what it is you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You want to figure out what it is you want to give out there,
Right.
give back. You have to keep yourself open to new opportunities. And so I said I'd do it. And I love it. I
Awesome.
absolutely love doing it, because it's the educator in me. It's the person that loves to actually gab, um, that really enjoys podcasting. And I'm doing it with two people that I enjoy greatly. We laugh so much. I mean, we can go off on any tangent
Mm-hmm.
talking. We have to work hard to stay on. So just having lots of fun with that, and just doing things to really put myself out there. I'm in the
Mm-hmm.
midst of you know listening to myself. I was listening to what the powers that be was telling me, and it
Absolutely.
came to me that I want to write a book.
Awesome.
Um, and it came to me, I want to write a children's book. And
There
so
you
that's
go.
what I am working on now.
Wonderful.
So,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
So, do you have any daily practices, routines, or habits that you do to help you connect to your joy?
I I have to be honest and say I need to be better at that. I do get up and just thank God for waking up and being alive and getting through it all. So when I get up, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've always wanted to get into meditation. Sometimes I'll try to do it, sometimes I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to be better about exercising because I don't like to. I know I need to, because when you get past, when you get into your 40s, it's not, yeah, you can't just do whatever you want. You have to exercise. So I really feel like, I want to incorporate that more.
Okay.
But for me, it's just to get up and be thankful, that you're up and you're rolling. Even if you're like, I gotta go to work, then I immediately say, but you're thankful that you have a job.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Like I immediately I'm like, woo woo. No, I'm not ungrateful. I am grateful to have a job and I'm grateful to be able to pay my bills.
That's right. That's right. Perspective. It's about
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's work because it's really easy to just go. I always tell people it's really like you will see people quickly if they had a bad experience, they're quick to go on and rate that bad experience, and you'll see less of the good experiences, right? It's
Right.
almost like we expect the good experiences, but we got
Mhm.
to be grateful for those things,
Absolutely.
right? So
Right.
it takes work to you maybe find yourself taking it off to the left, and you have to stop yourself and try to take it back to the right. You're not
Yes.
always successful, but you should at least try.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. 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 Well said. Oh, that's great. Yep. So, what about any tips? Do you have any tips that you can give to help others find their joy?
Um, I would say be open to it. Really look out for those joyful moments.
Mhm.
And don't take for granted even the hard times that you go through, because it will allow you to know when this is a good point. Please do not wait for the other shoe to drop. Don't steal your own joy. We
Yes.
are big joy stealers. We may think it's other people, but we are big joy stealers. We steal
Yes.
our own joy. I've been guilty of that. We
Hmm.
steal our own joy a lot.
Yes.
We
Yes.
tell ourselves things about ourselves. We tell ourselves things about our experiences. Um, and so if you whatever you can find joy in, like sometimes find a funny show,
Hmm.
or a song that brings back memories. I love to cook.
Hmm.
Certain smells brings joy. Like we just came back from Jamaica, and I brought back, like, they grow the cocoa on the trees,
Ah.
and I brought that back, and I'm just like, no, because that's a whole different taste. That's not hot cocoa. It's a whole different taste. And what
Wow.
it does is it brings me back to Sunday mornings with the big breakfast and the
Yes.
family sitting around,
Yes.
when I was a kid. So that's joy for me. It's not just
Hmm.
about, because she's greedy. No, there's that.
Right.
But it's really about bringing back a memory,
Right.
that was a peaceful time, a
Hmm.
nice time, and you could just sit down and enjoy that. And I'm looking forward, because there's a process that goes into making it.
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to doing that for my kids this winter.
Oh, nice.
And so yeah, those are the things. Find a peaceful time, find a moment. When I used to take, because I don't really practice anymore, but when I used to take the blood pressure
Hmm.
of patients and it was really high, I
Hmm.
would say, okay, I'm gonna give you like 3 to 5 minutes. I want you to think of a peaceful time, a vacation you loved, something, and I want you to center yourself and think of that peaceful time. And
Yeah.
then we're going to take your blood pressure again. And sometimes it worked,
Right.
sometimes it didn't, but more
Okay.
often it would bring it down. Even if it's just a few points,
Right.
more often than not, it would actually bring their blood pressure down.
Right.
And
Right.
I would say, now you're gonna go ahead, your blood pressure may go back up. But what is to show you is, if you could find more of those times, you can keep
Yes.
yourselves a little bit more regulated throughout the day.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Uh-huh. That's a really good point. We forget about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you had proof you actually were measuring it. So that's awesome.
Yes.
You had objective evidence
Right.
that it works.
Exactly. So wherever is your peaceful place, I like to go out on my porch.
Mhm.
I'll do these little lives, and I call it, like, I'll say I should start calling this Porch Chronicles, because I'll go out on my porch and just sit there and it's peaceful for me. So,
Mm-hmm.
whatever is your peaceful place or your peace, if it means going into your own closet and
Mm-hmm.
closing the door and sitting down and
Yep.
getting some quiet,
Yep.
do
Do
it.
it. Yep.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Oh my gosh, Judy, I love talking with you. You're so
Same.
amazing. I could talk with you
Thank
all day.
you.
I know you don't have all day. So where can people find you if they want to, connect with you or learn more about your Queens on Call podcast?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram and Twitter under at Dr_Judy_Wright. And the Queens on Call podcast is wherever you listen to your podcast, or you could look for the Queens on Call on Instagram as well. And please come listen. We love to talk. We feel we're giving vital information. We make it understandable. We make it fun. But those are the places that you really can find me, and just come and join me and talk talk to me. I love to talk to people. So
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming on and talking with me today. I have loved having this conversation with you,
thank
laughing
you.
with you.
Thanks, Alice. Been a joy. Thank you.
You take care.